All around the world, you're seeing Western countries and high-tax countries talking about raising your taxes even more. They don't think you pay enough as it is now, even if you're paying hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year. And today, I'm going to share with you one of the shadowy groups that you probably don't know much about that's pushing the politicians, pulling the strings to raise your taxes. We're not going to name anybody specifically by name, but I do want to talk about a group that you've heard us discuss many times before, and you probably didn't entirely understand what they're all about. And the group is called the OECD, and they are basically a high-tax lobbying group. They are people that create policy papers. They are people who put ideas out there in the heads of politicians. They are, in some ways, the puppet masters, pulling the strings of politicians who want higher taxes, less privacy, more regulations, all in the name of what they call better policies for better lives. Not better lives for you, the entrepreneur, not better lives for you, the investor. They don't care about your creating jobs, and they don't care about your creating opportunities. They care about redistributing wealth. They care about taking it to maintain and enhance their own power, curry favor with politicians around the world, and to keep the money flowing in the right direction. But I'm going to tell you the things that you may not know about them and why it's so insidious what they're doing. It may inspire you to want to go where you're treated best. Now, if it's your first time here, my name is Andrew Henderson, the founder of a boutique consultancy called Nomad Capitalist, and we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. Everything from lowering your taxes, getting a second passport, preparing yourself for all the craziness that's going on in the world. I also host the biggest and best offshore conference called Nomad Capitalist Live. It's open to everybody. So I went to the OECD's own website where they offer you to get a job. And if I weren't running a halfway decent operation around here, I might want to go and work for the OECD, quite frankly, because this sounds pretty darn appealing. They talk about a diverse and multicultural workforce with people from their 38 member countries, basically 38 high-tax countries that want them to go out and bully the rest of the world to make them raise their taxes so that they can't be competitive to attract you. Fortunately, there's so many different countries and territories, and as I always say, when one door closes, another one opens. That's what we've generally seen. That's why it's called Nomad Capitalist, because you want to continually be moving your assets, moving your business, and adjusting just as your ancestors did when they moved to where you live. You want to be constantly adjusting, whether it's every year or every 100 years, keeping up with people like this. But I wanted to share with you, because I think it's important to know who these folks are, what it exactly is that they're promoting if you wanted to get a job there, because these people make more money than probably about 99% of people in your country. And if you're living in an emerging country, they're probably making more money than 99.99999% of people. We talk about more freedom than 99.9% of the population. In human history, they're making more. They have better benefits, they've got a better package, perhaps even than you if you're a small business owner or a small investor. Here's what you get when you work at the OECD. Here's the first one that we've talked about before. First benefit, first bullet point. Now maybe they'll change this eventually, because you know they want to see what's going on out there from the nasty, the evil rich. What are we talking about? But here's the first thing right on their website. Salaries are exempt from income tax in most member countries. Now, they've got an asterisk talking about how certain U.S., Canadian, and Japanese nationals may have to pay salary, but by and large, these people are living in the heart of Europe, or they're living in different places. They're not paying tax. They do not pay, in many cases, income tax. Salaries exempt from income tax. This is literally an organization. You go up at the top. Better policies for better lives. Work at the OECD. Have an inclusive lifestyle. Basically, get involved in promoting high taxes and more quote-unquote transparency and all the diplomatic buzzwords. Go and join a bunch of other dishonest people who speak in buzzwords, who couldn't hack it at the United Nations. So now they have to retreat to the OECD, and you don't have to pay tax while telling everyone else they're not paying enough. Imagine working in a group where you go out and get media, and you have people in the publicity area where you're going out saying Elon Musk paying $11 billion isn't enough. He's a nasty, dirty scoundrel. Well, you paid zero. Imagine the hypocrisy. Imagine how arrogant you have to be that person. But that's just the beginning. Next, you get 30 days of annual leave. And in addition to this, French public holidays are also, what are the French, what are they working 9 days a year over there? So you get 30 days off plus another 122 days off for all the French holidays. You're working from 9:30, a soft 9:30 to 4. Nobody can bother you after 4:02, or else they get shipped off to to St. Helena or something for daring to bother their employees at 4:02. And also, they close for 1 week at the year end. So there's one thing that people don't understand, and that's the that's the value of hard work. You're getting a lot of time off. I mean, and I imagine it's not 30 days like a month, like Saturday. I bet it's like 30 like Monday through Friday. So that's like a month and a half plus an extra week plus like aren't the French off like for August, and then they have like Bastille Day or something. You're basically working like almost never. So. And on top of the fact that they're not paying tax and they don't know what it feels like to pay, they don't have the agony of sending big checks, 100,000, 500,000, million. I was talking to the guy recently. He's like, I just sent $7 million to the government. I'm like, how does that feel? He's like, not. I'm like, no. I said, literally, I want you to tell me how it feels, not what you think, not what you're supposed to, like, feel inside your body what it feels like. You sent $7 million to be wasted. What are they doing for you? Nothing more than they're doing for the guy who sent 7,000. I can tell you that. So not only these people don't feel the agony of paying taxes, they don't feel the agony of working hard. And so when, like nobody believes anymore. I'm always going on LinkedIn, which I think is honestly perhaps the most toxic social network of all, because it's just about a bunch of like employers are the worst people on earth, and like why don't we, do everything for the, and it's like no, the consensus is you didn't work hard to build your business. Why? Well, maybe the comments on my LinkedIn feed are coming from people who have 30 days of leave plus every French holiday and another week. Yeah, like if that's your experience, you can't empathize with the guy who locked himself in a room for a year and a half in a studio apartment. I guess that would be the only room. A 1-bedroom apartment, and just pounded it out 14 hours a day, building your website, sourcing your product, building your connections, making sales calls, building a team. I'm not against people. We've got a big team. They have time off, but I mean, this seems like a lot of time off, quite frankly. And I don't know how these people. I mean, what would you expect of these people when they have so much time off and no taxes? They have no understanding of what you are building in your business. You also get comprehensive medical insurance. All right, fair enough. Paid parental leave, paid sick leave. I'm all for paid sick leave until I got hit with one of these recently, where someone's like, I'm in pain. I need a month. The healthcare insurance covers staff members and a defense. Okay, fine. Family allowances, education allowance, typical kind of expatriation allowance, home leave, removal and install. Sounds like a lot of allowances, which, all right, fair enough. Staff members leaving the organization after 10 years of service get a leaving allowance. It's like these people are children that get an allowance. Onboarding assistance, not sure what that means. Staff members who completed 10 more years get a pension. So by age 32, you get to retire off into the sunset, but you'll miss the French holidays. Child care, limited nursery, etc. Now, if you're temporary staff, you think these people are, this is for the full-time staff. If you're temporary staff, you think that like, the hired help, the gardener, the maid, let's treat them at the same level, because we're all equals, right? We're all humans, better policies or better lives. Absolutely not. You are taxed, by the way, you serf, you peasant. They've taken 16% plus more. You have to pay tax. The full-time guys who get driven around in the Mercedes, they do not get taxed, but you do, and then you get like 2.5 working days for each month of full-time service. So the time off isn't bad. But if you're a temporary guy or temporary gal, you don't get the tax benefit that the full-time, sophisticated people do. And if you're an intern, then you're really screwed. It sounds like you get a stipend and they throw a croissant at your head. Flexible working is important. So of course it's all about work-life balance, because when you're making a huge salary plus no taxes plus 87% of the year is taken off, plus you have 18 different allowances. I mean, what else could you want but work-life balance? You can telework, you can flex a time, you can just, pretend to work. And you can pretend to work all the way to influencing the heads of state, treasury secretaries, ministers of finance, and all kinds of other policymakers around the world when you occasionally put out a policy paper saying, you know what, these disgusting cryptocurrency investors shouldn't have any privacy. They should just give it all over to us. Just send us all your money. Oh, we should have a global minimum tax because people aren't paying enough. Yeah, maybe people aren't paying enough to support people financing organizations like this so they can drive around sipping lattes during their 3-hour work weeks, being chauffeured around Paris with their French holidays. Someone has to pay for that, and it should be you, you disgusting, evil, rich person. So if you want to know who's behind, if you've ever read these articles in the Wall Street Journal, if you read tax journals as we do around here, and you see the OECD, and you want to know what they're all about, they are the high tax lobbying group behind a lot of the proposals where you pay more because you're just a disgusting pig. And this is what they're living in. You can find it on their very own website. It's important to know who it is proposing this stuff. They want you to do what they won't do. Do as I say, not as I do.